Good morning and welcome back once again to Jack's Tech Corner for another Photography Weekly. This is episode number 55 for Sunday, April 22nd, 2012. In today's show, what are you going to learn? Why did you come here to stick with me and to learn something new? Well, today we're talking HDR. We're going to look at some tools and some reasons why we should shoot or learn how to shoot high dynamic range. Sounds like a big word. Don't be scared off. It's very easy to do. We're going to teach you here that today. Also, a lot of people have been throwing around this copyright stuff. Everybody's been putting a little C on their pictures. I see them on Facebook. I've done it. So we're going to talk about some copyright laws, and I'm going to show you how to make yourself legal. Because if you do that without this other stuff I'm going to tell you, then you're not really legal. You're just You're making people like the world of make-believe. If you ever remember Mr. Rogers from Pittsburgh, the world of make-believe, you're believing that that's copyrighted, but is it really? We'll take a look at that, and I'm going to show you some of that. And then we're going to go into the tribute of our highlights and our exposures. So we're going to talk about that also coming up here this morning on Photography Weekly, episode number 55. So we'll give our official shout outs this morning. Good morning to Andy Taylor, Charmaine, Cheryl, Jeff, Hugh, June, Mike, Peter, and Serena. Good morning to everybody in the channel here. And I also seen Jessica popped in and popped out. I don't know what happened. She might have to reboot her computer, but hopefully she's coming back. And going to be joining us there for the show. Now, it's very interesting already because I've seen Charmaine already said, wow, that is funny because I was going to ask about that anyway. Now, I don't know what she was going to ask about, but it must be something that I gave you in the opener. We're going to start off first about it or with, and you're probably talking about the copyright laws, I guess. And Andy also said something about being a psychic. So he must have been thinking about the same kind of thing there. Okay. So Charmaine was actually talking about HDR. And if you looked on the Facebook wall for Jack's Tech Corner, you would see on there that I actually did a couple HDR pictures the other day. I went out for the sole purpose of shooting these pictures to create the HDR images. Now, what I want to show you is we're going to talk about how that is done, and we're going to look at some examples, and then I'm going to show you how to put these together with some different types of software. And you can use Photoshop elements, and we will get into that, but we'll talk about that here in just a little while. So with that said, I'm going to turn to the other computer so you all know at this point, everybody knows that I leave the chat room. I'm not going to be watching the chat room right now. So if you have questions, just hold those until after we get through this stuff. And we will start to look at that. And then we'll answer the questions after this and be able to talk a little bit more about how to do this. So let's go ahead and get started. So HDR, anyway, it's called high dynamic range, is what we're looking at this morning. So what is HDR? HDR is made up of 3 different exposures. Now, we can shoot this at either a, I normally like to do it at a -2, and then at a normal exposure, and then at a +2. This is also equal to 2 under and 2 over. Now, we're going to look at that setting, and this is why I taught you why it was so important last week to teach you about exposures and how to blow out an image, how we was able to overexpose for an image, and now we're able to actually understand our exposure meter. That's going to be very important for this week. Now, a lot of cameras have on here what's called auto bracketing. Now, what is auto bracketing? Auto bracketing is just a very easy way on your camera to set this up and have your camera do this for you. All right. So most cameras will do a -2, a +2, or my Nikon will actually do a 3. Now what a 3 is I always settle on 3. 3 is it'll take the 3 shots. It'll do it -2, dead on, and then +2. Now, a lot of your cameras out there, a lot of what you guys shoot, and I know what you guys shoot because I talk to a lot of you out there, may not have the auto bracketing function. And when I teach this in live sessions all the time, I get, well, Jack, take these off for now. I always get that question, Jack, how do I know if my camera has this auto bracketing function? Well, it's very easy to know. Get the manual out. You know, I keep my manual pretty close at hand. Actually, you guys know that I've showed it to you over and over and over here. This is my manual. I keep it close at hand because I do have questions like that at times. You know, I was just talking to a photographer the other day, and he said, Jack, do you know everything there is to know about your camera? I said, well, I know everything there is to know about it with the functions that I use, right? Manual mode, exposure, shutter speeds. I understand all that, and I do understand bracketing because I use it. And he said, well, you don't understand every part of the camera, and you can't. You know, these cameras do so much. I mean, I even do video with my camera, and when I do video, sometimes I have to read in here. It's got stuff on the lens like vibration resistant. You know, a lot of stuff is common sense, but some stuff you may never use in your camera. So you want to make sure that you take the time to look at the manual for this auto bracketing. So what happens, you say, Jack, my camera don't have auto bracketing. I guess I can't do HDR. Well, we've had a lot of people in our classes, in my live classes, that we look at their cameras and we dig around and we try to figure this out. And they don't have it. But you know what? You can, all cameras, all DSLRs that I know of, you can set the exposure. So let's look at this. Now, you might remember this particular slide from last week because we used this when we talked about blowing out an image and how to look at this. Now, this is basically when you take your camera and we look through the viewfinder, and you can see it. I can't show you, but you can see it inside the viewfinder. And then you turn, basically what you're doing is you're adjusting your shutter speed up and down is what you're doing. So turn your knob or whatever your dial is for your shutter speed. And you're going to take this. You're going to actually take this thing. Start at dead zero, if you wish. Now, I'm going to show you in the editor later why you may or may not want to do that. That's totally up to you how you want to do these. I like to start at +2, or it would actually be -2 on the darker side. Then I work from left to right because we read that way and our mind works left to right. So let's take our pictures the same way. What we do here is take a picture at 2 on the darker side. Then go dead zero and then keep turning your shutter speed until it goes brighter by 2 stops. Take another picture. You just created a bracketed photo. You're doing the same thing that the auto bracketing is doing. You're just doing it manual. Some guys I talked to does a lot of HDR work. They said, Jack, how many pictures do you use for HDR? I said, traditionally I use 3. I use an over, I use a normal exposure, and then I use an underexposure. They said 3, we normally use 5 because they would go something, let's say like 4, 2, 0, then 2 brighter, and then 4 brighter. So they would use 5 images. And it's personal taste, folks. However much you want to get involved with this. I find that 3 images work extremely well, and you'll be fine with 3 images. So remember, it's -2, 0, and +2. You might want to write that down. -2, 0, dead on exposure, and then +2. So that's exactly how it works. Okay. Now, to do HDR work, you must have a tripod. When I teach this in class and I tell people the first night of class, these are what you need. A camera, and never fails when I teach a live class. Everybody brings their cameras. Nobody brings 2 things. Nobody brings their charger and their batteries are always dead, and nobody brings their cable to hook their camera to the computer. Luckily, I think ahead nowadays when I teach these classes, and I bring a card reader. So you need a way to hook the camera to the computer. everybody's like, Jack, I need a tripod. Are you out of your mind? That's $9,000. No, it's not. I bought my tripod, my true and trusted tripod, from the photographer that helps to teach you guys something new. Mine came from Wally World, Walmart to the rest of the world out there. It was about $30. They also have a smaller version, not a smaller version, but they have one for $19. It's just a little bit thinner. So you can also pick that up. You have that option. The idea of the tripod is basically that the pictures must line up. So we have those three shots. We have a normal exposure, we have a -2 and a +2. They got to be the exact same image. You're going to see it here in just a little bit. Those same images must line up. They must line up on top of each other, and they can't be off. So you cannot handle, I've tried it. You can't handhold an HDR. You shoot it. They're going to be off. You're going to sneeze or move, or unless you're a statue or you're gluing your arms to your side and you're holding that camera, you're not going to do it. So the pictures must line up, and the camera must stay on a stable platform. Must stay on a stable platform. And when you buy these tripods, I had somebody one time come to a live class and they tried to save money by buying a tabletop tripod. That's great if you're out somewhere in the middle of the woods and there happens to be a picnic table that you can settle up on and it's level, or there happens to be a place in the parking lot where you can get a beautiful shot without walking into the wilderness, or whatever, or downtown. HDR works great in cities. And Jeff brought up a good point when we first started this. HDR is not the most pleasing picture for portraits. And it kind of changes the whole dynamics of the skin tone. So that's why it's not that great for portraits. A lot of people like the look, and some people even use it. That's personally up to you. But it's more for surroundings. Landscapes are nice for it. Cityscapes are really beautiful. Downtown city lights are gorgeous, and we'll talk about that as we come along. So let's go ahead. We're going to have a look, and you may have seen some HDR, but I wanted to give you an example of some of this work and what it looks like. So I want to show you a little bit about how HDR is actually done. Now, right here is the inside of a church. So, and I've never done this. This is on my list of things to do now. So if you're going to do a wedding, it's nice to take three bracketed shots when you first walk in to the church, just to have that overall view, especially if there's flowers and stuff up there in the altar. It's going to be really, really nice to have an HDR shot for that bride and groom. This is, just a picture of an ocean, or a, looks like a lighthouse, might be a lighthouse there. And this is done in HDR. So we have the high dynamic ranges. And what we mean by that simply is that the sky, you can see how the clouds are really there and they're dynamic. It's pulling it out. The highlights are not blown out, but they're really present. And the shadows are really, really present. So you have everything that in that picture that we normally shoot for, right? We normally shoot, when we expose a picture, we normally either exposing for the highlights, the shadows, or the dead-on normal exposure. So this brings that all out in one picture. Here's a shot. Again, very, very beautiful shot. Now, what you have to look at this shot is you can do this. All right, that's what I'm trying to teach you this Sunday morning. You have the capability to go out, take this shot, bring it back into your editors, and actually build this picture. So it's not far-fetched. When you hang this on the wall, people can go, that is totally amazing. You are an amazing photographer. And you're going to go, well, yeah, I am. And take it for that. Now, this shot, some of you may remember, and some of you may have not seen. This is the one I did over the weekend. I went out and I took my 3 bracketed exposure shots and I created this HDR. I usually don't tone map them as much as these. You can see how those are really, really mapped out. But it is HDR, and you can tell that with the cloud cover here And also the highlights are all coming out, as well as the shadows in the bottom here. So everything's coming through on that picture. That's what we want to see. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to need software. We're going to need some way to actually do this. Will Elements do it? Yeah, sort of. We're going to take a look at that. That's not my first choice for HDR. And I know I teach a lot of Elements and you guys own Elements. So we're going to look at that. But we're also going to look at a cheap alternative way that's going to make it look a lot nicer. Photoshop is absolutely great. It's built into CS5 and CS6 naturally is going to have it. CS5 does. But this was something new, I guess. I'm not a big Photoshop guy. But as I pick up tips of stuff that is important, then I share that with you, and it is great in Photoshop. I've done it in Photoshop here yesterday, and it looks fantastic. And then there's a program that you can actually buy called PhotoMatrix. Now, they seem like a pretty good company. I didn't contact them or anything, but to see if we can get any deals on the software. But it's $40 for the standard version, and that's what I'm going to show you today, and it works absolutely great. So for $40, you can do it, and we'll talk about that here later. So now it's actually time to go ahead and we're going to play with some of these pictures. So we're going to show you now how you would actually do some of this editing. So let's go ahead. First of all, we're going to look at the three in order. We're going to look at Elements. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at Photoshop. And then we're going to look at PhotoMatrix. Close this slideshow out. Okay, so here we are back in our Photoshop Elements. And we're going to take a look at this. Now, what we're looking at here is opening up some pictures. I don't know if you can see those naming or not there. It says Mike. The reason it says Mike is because I was doing some stuff on Mike's picture. And that's why it says that. So we're going to highlight all three of those. We're going to click on Open Image. And what this is, you're going to see right away here is there's the high range. There's the low range. And there's the mid-tone. So you see the difference there. You can see the nice cloud cover. Cloud cover is a little darker. And the cloud cover is very bright. So that's the three different ranges. That's the exposure settings that we learned last week about exposure. What you're going to do now is down here in the bottom in the bin, you're going to highlight the first one, shift click the last one so they're all selected. We're going to go to File, New, we're going to go to Photo Merge Exposure. It's right there, Photo Merge Exposure. We're going to have a look at this. What it's doing now, it's lining those shots up for you. All right, remember, the three shots have to be the same on the same plane, and they have to be able to line with each other. Now, they're all aligned up right there. Over here, I had Smart Blending on. We're going to turn Simple Blending on for a minute. And what it actually does is blend your pictures. It's blending all three of those together. You got, just like we talked about, highlight and details, shadows, and saturation. So simple blending is it's trying to do its best guess for you. Now, we're going to try to do smart blending. Smart blending allows us to do some of this. Everybody liked the saturation and the colors of the other one. You can pull those colors up, right? We can take our shadows down a little bit. Or you can pull them up. You can take your highlight details down a little bit. Okay. Get over here, see what we get. So it's very much slider driven, and you can kind of work at it and try to see what you come up with. Now, does that look anything like the other ones I showed you? No. Is it HDR? Yes, because you blended three pictures together. But it doesn't have that pop off the screen gratitude that those other ones have. Let's cancel this. What I want to show you now is a way that you can do this manually in Elements that I was playing with yesterday to show you, and I thought it's better than what that does. So up here, I'm going to take this one. Make sure I have these the way I want them. We actually want that one to be on the top, I think. Let's see if we can do this. We're going to select all. We're going to copy it. And then we're going to paste it onto this one. Yeah. The reason I want to do that is you want the darker one. I found it's better to have the darker one on top. All right. You want this darker one to be the top layer. And you could even double click this and name this underexposed. We'll just name it under. All right. So now we'll take this one. Let me make sure where we're at here. That's good. That's good. Now you take this one, do image, do select all. We're going to copy it. We're going to paste it back with these layers and paste it. All right. Make sure you take the under image and put it on top. It just seems to work better for me. This image here is our mids. And this image here, we're going to rename highs. Now again, I'm going to show you software that makes this really easy, but some of us own Photoshop Elements, right? And we don't want to spend $49 or $40 for something else, and that's fine. So all we have to do now is I want to click on this one here that's under, because we can see that the highlights are not coming through these trees here. And I thought, that doesn't look too pleasing. And it's not quite dark enough up here to say really it's interesting HDR. So what you're going to do now is just simply create on a mask right here. Click on your mask. Black is selected because we know if we paint on the mask with black, it will reveal what's underneath of it. Up here, I picked out a really soft brush. I picked out a 300 bristle brush with this little soft thing around, if you can see that right there. It says airbrush soft round is what I used. Double click that. Drop your opacity down. We don't want the opacity too high because then it's not going to look realistic. And we are going to start revealing what's underneath these trees with a smaller brush. All right, and the opacity, we're going to raise the opacity a little bit because I want you to be able to see this happening. You can see there, as soon as I do this, the highlights are starting to come through the trees. Right? Starting to make those trees pop out a little bit more. All right, just like that. Now you're starting to get more of that HDR fill. You're starting to get more of that. You can see the highlights coming out because we're pulling it from the mids. All right. If you want to pull anything from this one, if we click on this and we do the same thing, we add a mask here and we paint on this again. You're going to start pulling out what's underneath from this bottom one. So all we're doing, we're kind of doing this whole job manual, what was done for us before. The only thing I didn't like with these clouds when I was playing with this was I didn't like the way that the black is not really under there. It's not really prevalent for me to see that. So what I did here, I created a new layer. With that layer selected, I make sure black is selected here. My brush is still selected. And again, I would take this down to just about 10%. And then just click up here on these clouds. And what's happening is you're just bringing that black out even more that's already on those clouds. Still leaving the white though. And again, this is just if you want to use elements, folks. I'm just showing you a nice tricky way here that you can create an HDR image without spending any money because you own elements. So you can do this. And remember, the more you paint, the more you're going to bring out. Remember, if you watch the, I was talking to Mike last night for a while, and we was talking about him restoring pictures. Remember when he said, the more you click on it, the more you go over it, the more it's going to keep making it darker and darker. So these ones here where it's brighter down here, you may want to drop your opacity a little bit. If you look here, I'm down to 5 now. And we're just going to touch these clouds up. So there you go. So now you can see how you're getting that overall picture. The next thing I did when I played with this was I didn't want all that bottom part on there. So I pulled this over here and I cropped it down a little bit just so I didn't have a whole lot of that sand to worry about there. Just like that. So there's a little down and dirty way of creating an HDR picture with your Photoshop elements. It can be done either with the photo merge. You may even use the the exposure merge and then pull it back into elements and touch it up. You could do that. Or you can do it by hand like I just did here. All right. There's number one way of doing things. Let's close this out. Because everybody knows when we start using a lot of programs on our computer, what happens? It starts to get really slow. We don't want that to happen this morning. All right. Now, see here. Bring up our whole desktop here. We're going to try to show my mouse pointer. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to look at it in Photoshop and how it looks better in Photoshop. What I have here is I have my pictures in Lightroom. It works equally well in Bridge. All right. So you can also do it in Bridge. Here's those 3 same pictures right here. We already have them selected. I have that one selected to this one. I'm going to right click on that and I'll do Edit In and look. Merge to HDR Pro in Photoshop. So HDR Pro is coming with your Photoshop. Now this is the full Photoshop. Photoshop CS 5, 5.1, and now 6. I don't know. This will probably open up in 6, I'm guessing. Because 6 kind of took over my computer. Yeah. This is the Photoshop 6 beta that this is going to open up in. But I played with it last night in 5. It works equally well in 5. So you won't have any problems at all. What it's doing here now is it's actually already pulling these pictures in. It's going to start analyzing it. You'll see it analyzing the pictures. So it's analyzing those pictures, getting all those pictures ready to go. And what happens in the end, I think is really, really cool, is it pulls it into this HDR program. The HDR Pro. Let me see if I can't bring this up here. No, apparently not. All right, let's see here. If I can't maybe select it so you can see more of this. I want you to see this program, the way it works. Now this comes with Photoshop. Hopefully you can see that. Nope, not really. Let's see if I can make this a little smaller. All right. There we go. All right. I wanted you to be able to see this. If you can't see it, there's no sense in me teaching it, right? We might as well be taking a nap. What I like about this program is if you come up to presets, now I already found one that I truly like. It has all these different presets you can play with. The one I really enjoyed was more saturated. Look at that. Perfect. You're done. You can walk away from it. It's fine. It's fantastic. But you say, maybe it's not to your taste. If it's not to your taste, then just start playing with some tone and details. If it looks like it's oversaturated, saturation's at 100%, we can bring the saturation down a little bit. And please give your computer a little bit of time to breathe when you're doing this, folks. You want to make sure your computer can breathe a little bit. All right. The exposure, maybe you want to bring the exposure up a little bit. The overall exposure. And you say, well, Jack, that's nice. That's good for you, Jack. You like that one, but we don't. We want something different. Let's do a surrealistic. You know how people say that, surreal. It's high contrast. So there's a shot. Again, this is the same 3 images we played with in Photoshop Elements. And now you're seeing why Photoshop Elements it might not be the tool for this. You can do it. I wanted to show you can do it because I don't want you to be left out by any means. Here's a monochrome artistic. A lot of people like it. I don't know if you ever did these in school. We did. We took those coppers and we chiseled those out when we were younger in school. Kind of made that raised thing like that. So that's pretty cool. So again, there's a lot in here you can play with. And you just have to be willing to get in here and play around with this. Right. Okay. And just a brief note there, Jessica said in the chat room, she doesn't know if Photoshop's worth buying for this. And you're exactly right. I don't know either. Just because this is built in. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the $39 program, right, that you can buy. And it's probably what most of you are going to probably want to use because it's kind of what I'd like to use. But like I said, I do have Photoshop CS5, so I have that option, but I'm just throwing options out there. Let's close Photoshop. Well, first we have to close this down. So we're going to cancel out of this. We're going to close Photoshop down. That's funny, the trial thing came up afterwards. That's crazy. Okay. Now we are going to close Lightroom down. Nah, we're not going to back it up right now. And you find it at PhotoMatrix. Right here. It's actually called HDR. It's HDR Softcom. HDR Soft.com. All right. Like I said, you can download trial versions. We're going to do that. Now, they have a lot of different flavors here, naturally. There's PhotoMax Pro. It's $100. Do you need it plugged into your Lightroom? You might want that. But we are just going to look at the very basic called PhotoMatrix Essentials for $40. And I'm going to download it here. It's not a very big download by any means. We're going to save that. And let's see. That looks good. Save it right there. Show us in Finder. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at PhotoMatrix. How does it work? All right. We are just using the trial version here. So continue your trial. Now, all we have to do now is load our files into there. So we'll click on Browse. And it is desktop. These are the 3 files we've been using. Select that. Once you have them in there selected, all we have to do now is we're going to hit Next. Now, do you want to remove ghosts? I didn't touch base with you on this, but what ghosts are, if you're doing a cityscape or you're doing a, let's just say we're doing something where we have people moving in the background. If there's any movement or trees blowing, they even say, it can cause ghosting. Because you got these three pictures, but they're not taken at the exact same moment. So if a tree's blowing a little bit, either way, what's going to happen is there could be ghosting. So let's remove ghosting. Let's say yes. Okay. So here it is. It's very easy to use. And I like it because it's a piece of cake. You can do details enhancer, tone compressor. These are all the different sliders you get down here. Or exposure fusion. There's presets. Let's go to detail. There's presets in here you can play with. Or what I like about it is on the right hand side, you see over here. Let's try to do a selection here so we can see this. We're going to try to select this here just so we can get a better look at this software. And we'll take a peek at this. All right, done. So on the right over here, you can see different ones you can actually look at. You get ideas of what each one's going to look like. That's where this software really, really shines. So Jessica asked earlier, so Photoshop, $700. PhotoMatrix Essentials, $40. Like I said, I've been able to contact somebody there to see if we can get everybody on the show here a little bit of a break or a deal, if a lot of people are buying it. And again, so once you look at one of these, here's even a black and white, which I think is pretty crazy. So if you look at any of these, you can actually come down through here in color saturation. We can run that up to 100%. Luminosity. You can drop that down if you want. Bring it up. And details. So there you have it. Okay. All right. So that is a very, very simple way of using PhotoMatrix. We're going to close PhotoMatrix out. Now, once you are done, if you hit process and save, it's going to save that image out. Remember all these steps. Keep these things in your head here because there could be something coming out where you might have to use some of this. You can hit process and save if you want to use PhotoMatrix. You don't have to buy it. It's going to put some watermarks on your picture. That's okay. All right. The main thing is check these tools out. See how these tools are used. All right. That is done. Let's go back here and we are going to check on the chat room and see what's going on. All right. Let's take a look here. See what's happening in the chat room. And I did try, Brian, I did try the Luminous HDR, and it is free, but I found it very time-consuming, very, for the lack of a better word, very clumsy. It didn't really, the pictures come out very grainy looking, and I believe it's based on the resolution. I noticed that when I was playing with it yesterday, you could set that and actually bring it out of there. You know, you could bring it out. But again, for $40, I think you want that professional look, where in the free software, you guys can try it. Like Brian said in the chat room, or look at it. It's called Luminous HDR, and you can definitely look. It's a free download. Try that out. See if you like it or not. Let's see. Okay, and Jessica says she likes HDR, but not enough to buy the software, and that's fine. You might not want to buy the software. Maybe you just want to use elements and just touch it up and play with it. Seeing there. Andy did say when you have PhotoMatrix open, you can pull the windows side to side, and you can drag your pictures over. You can do that. There's a lot of ways to get your pictures in there. Let's see. Just checking this here. Charmaine asked, why is Photoshop cost so much? Because they can get the money for it. Photoshop, and I told everybody this a few weeks ago, and I'm not going to recant on this because it is true. From what I understand, I've talked to a lot of photographers, a lot of people doing photo editing, but Photoshop was never invented for us. It was never invented for the photographer. We want to shoot our cameras, and we want to learn how to take really good pictures in our cameras, and we want to touch them up. Photoshop was made for the graphic artist out there, and that's who it's made for. So it's been adapted for photographers and the professionals, the so-called professionals out in the world. They believe if you don't use Photoshop, you're not a professional photographer. That would be like me saying if you don't buy a lens for $2,000 and you don't know how to shoot a camera. I don't understand that. I've had mechanics work on my car with Kmart wrenches. It runs just as good as if they would have used a Craftsman's wrench. So the tool is not the object here, folks. It's learning how to use whatever tools in your tool belt. That's the object. That's what we're trying to teach here in these classes. Serena says, if you're paying $40, then why a watermark? There's no watermark if you buy it, Serena. If you use the trial version, you get the watermark. And that's just basically how that comes out. Right, Jeff says that's in the demo version. So you can play with it and say, I like it. Or you can play with it and go, this is garbage. I don't want to use this software. That's why it's a demo, and that's why they watermark it. And what program was I talking about when, Debbie? I don't know when that came in the chat room. If you look back up through the chat room, we were talking first about Luminous. Okay, sorry you just got here. We talked today about PhotoMatrix, Photoshop, and we talked about Photoshop Elements. So we talked about those 3 different programs. That's basically the programs we talked about. Okay. Now, as we're going to do every week here, I know you don't want to see it. Got to play it. Got to play the, I'm going to play the silly commercial. Come back. And I know we only have 5 minutes left, but today's segment may last a little longer. If you have to leave, I'll try to catch you there when you go. But we got to get into this next topic because I think it's so important and we need to discuss it. And that's the legal issues of copyrighting your pictures. I got to talk to you about this. And just hang in there with me this morning, and we'll learn this together. So we're going to keep this class going just a little bit longer, and I'll be right back after this runs. Okay, everyone. Thank you for letting me take a few minutes of your time here to introduce our sponsors to you and to make sure that we still have that great relationship between you, myself, and our sponsors so everybody can benefit and you can benefit in the end with some savings. First, let me introduce to you really quick Lightroom for Learning. It's a brand new DVD I have that just came out. It's me. I created it. I produced it. I recorded all the videos. And that DVD is now available. It's called Lightroom for Learning. Or if you can't wait for the DVD to be shipped to your house, I got you covered. Also, if you want to save a little bit of shipping, click on Online Class. And right here in the bottom, it says Introducing Learning Lightroom for All. Now, there's the introduction right there. Just click here, and you'll go into the online class. All it is you sign up. It's a self-sign-up. You just pay the fee through PayPal, and you're ready to go. There's 32 easy-to-follow videos. I take you from A to Z in Lightroom. So if you think that you're going to be using Lightroom, or if you have Lightroom 4 and you're scratching your head trying to figure it out, now's the time to go ahead and learn that. Next is SmugMug. SmugMug's a great site for you to post your pictures up on. SmugMug will also let you post videos up on there if you wish to do that. Now, I use it for the Pro site here, and the Pro site allows me to go in, set my own prices. It allows me to create my own front end or my own store, like many of sites do. But I just felt the SmugMug Pro has that extra professional touch that I was looking for. It's a great site. It's easy to use. They also have a great iPhone app that works great on the iPad for viewing all your pictures on SmugMug and sharing those with others. If you're going to sign up for SmugMug at checkout, please use Jack's Tech Corner for an additional 20% off. Next is Green Screen Wizard. Remember, if you're going to do digital backgrounds, green screening is the way to go, and Ken's the man that you want to see. If you remember a while back, we did an interview with Ken, and Ken's still very, very much in the business, and he's working hard to bring us new products each and every day. He has a great product lineup here. If you go in here, there's some perfect packages to get you started relatively inexpensive. Also, there's some free demos if you want to try out green screening. If you've never tried it, try that out. Try it today. And Amazon. Amazon's that website that all of us know and love to save money with. I know I purchase a ton of stuff from Amazon. Almost at least once a week I'm buying something little. You know, either a reflector, a deflector, a stand, something that you're picking up relatively inexpensive. So it's Amazon.com. To get to any of those, make sure you use my website here, jackstechcorner.com, and click on the links here on the left. That way the credit comes back to me, and they know that you are watching the shows and that you're coming from the shows, and they're going to take care of you. So that's it. Let's get back to learning here with Jack at Jack's Tech Corner and Photography Weekly. Okay, well, thanks for dealing with the little advertisement spot there. You know, you have to take time to pay tribute to your sponsors, and that's a good little break there for us to get up and stretch our legs, move around, get ready to go after that first segment, and get ready for this next segment. Good morning to you also, Chicky. You know, I'm going to take just another minute here. We're going to just run down through this chat room real quick again to give our shout outs because we have more people that joined. Once again, Andy Taylor, Brian, Charmaine, Cheryl, Chicky, Debbie, Dennis W., Jeff, Hugh, Jessica, June, Kevin, Mike, Peter, Randall, Serena, and Sue in Pennsylvania. What we're going to talk about now is so important because so many of us, I've been guilty of it also, has been putting these little C's on our picture. What does that C mean? That C means that that picture is copyrighted to you. Okay, that's what that C means. Now, there's a legal issue there. It's because digging around and trying to figure this out for everybody, I also found out that it's kind of illegal to put that on there because people then assume that you paid to get that legally copyrighted to you. And if you didn't, then you are actually doing something that's illegal because you're putting something on there. Just like if I would take one of these wedding pictures here and I'd put on that wedding picture done by some great wedding photographer. Well, I'm lying, right? That's a lie. So at the bottom of my wedding site now, you're going to see down here something that says, this is licensed, or this is actually copyrighted under the Creative Commons or non-commercial use. Okay. So in other words, somebody could take that picture, they can look at it, but under this particular license, they cannot change the picture, they cannot alter it and put their name on it, they cannot sell it to anybody because it's a non-commercial picture. Now, there's two ways you can do this. One is, and I just happened to find this site the other day, I heard about them on the radio, and it's pretty cool actually, called LegalZoom.com. If you want to own a copyright to your work, read over this. You can actually do a U.S. copyright registration. It's $114 plus government filing fees. You can see the details. They'll tell you every fee that you need to pay. Now, this is any artwork or a photo, but be very careful with this, folks, because I believe when you have something copyrighted, you don't copyright you as a photographer. You're going to copyright each photograph. So you may want to be very careful with this whole thing and make sure you read through this stuff to know your legal issues. Now, you say, Jack, that's all well and good, but you know what? If Jack's using Creative Commons, it must be good enough for everybody. And you know what? At least it's protecting me. People see that and they say, look, this is the way I want my work to be taken care of. You know, if you take this picture off here, you can share it with everybody, but you can't alter it and you can't sell it. That's all I'm saying. That's why we're copyrighting anything anyway. This was invented for people just like us. It's known as open source Creative Commons licensing. What do I mean by open source? It was built around people like us. So people that either create, let's say, videos, podcasts, people like yourself, people that create pictures, photographers. Maybe you write a book and you post it online. Anything you do, all you got to do is go in here and read through this stuff. It's really, really easy to do. If you see license, it says, how can I license my work? And all you got to do is click on choose a license. Allow commercial uses of your work. What does that mean? If you pick up a magazine one day and you see your work on the front of that magazine and this is selected to yes, you can't sue them. Nothing you can do. Select no. You want paid for your work, right? Allow modifications of your work. Yes, I can take your picture legally and I can dupe it up and do whatever I want to and put my name on it, right? Because it's no longer yours. I changed it. I modified it. No, you don't want people modifying your work. And then justification of your license. International. I did mine international, but you can do it just for the States. I would recommend international. You're doing it for free anyway. So if you do it international, what you're going to find out is that, because if you do it just for the States, some guy in the UK, if Peter, I think Peter's still in the chat room there, if Peter takes it, he can mess around with your image and put Peter on it. It belongs to Peter. Or Charmaine in Australia. She can take it, dupe her work, put her little tidbits of edits on there. It belongs to Charmaine. You want to make sure you mark that thing international. All this additional information is niceness. You don't have to do it. Select a license. Here's a licensing code for your website. That's where I got my code from. You just right click on it. Paste that into your website, on your footer, anywhere you want. And that's how you do those. You can also take these buttons if you want to. You can put those right on your image. If you feel that's what you need to do, you can do that. It's totally up to you however you want to do those. And I was reading a story. If you go back to their homepage, there's different case studies. Here's a whitehouse.gov here. There was another case study I read in there on Flickr with people just like us posting pictures. So that might be something you want to take a look at there. I see it's flashing around a little bit on the screen there, and I don't know why it's doing that. I just don't think it'll catch up to us right now. There we go. What we're going to do now is we are going to show you how to upload a picture to this assignment folder. And this will also give you the assignment for the week. So here we go. All right. So we'll go to Facebook here. And we are on Facebook. There we go. All right. So we're going into Jack's Tech Corner as your group. That's our group for this week. And let's do a selection here. Well, I think we can just conform it to an application. That's always weird. I don't know why it doesn't want to go to the... Let's see now if we can do it. There we go. All right. Okay, I wanted to show this to you folks here. So you're here, and what you need to do is click right here on Photos. All right. So don't click on Add Photo here. And let me see if I can't bring it up there. I really want to be able to show this to you better, because you can't understand it if you can't see it. I believe at 100%. I know I take a lot of these classes, just like you folks are taking these classes now. Okay. So do not click right here where it says Add Photo. Okay. Click under here where it says Photos at the top. Right there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and create a album. As you can see down here, there's one right here. This one says Highlight Assignment. Highlights Assignment number 54. So I'm going to start a new album for this week. I want you to go in here and put your pictures in here when you get them. It is going to be called, you guessed it, HDR Assignment number 55. Select the photo. Let's see here. I know I should have one done somewhere. Maybe. And let's see here. No, those aren't those. Pictures. Maybe it's in here. HDR. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to add mine first. Okay. Now remember, okay, a lot of you are saying that your pictures might have been in there in all those photos together, but you have to go in the folder, go in the album, and upload that picture. All right, so right there's my picture. It's totally up to you if you want to put your name on it. That's up to you. Once you're done, simply click on Post Photo. Now, when you open it up, you'll go down here to the bottom. It'll say Add More Photos. Click on that. Post Photo. And there you go. So there they are right there. Okay, so let's go back here just real quickly. Let's recap. So we're on Jack's Tech Corner. We're on our group. We click right here on Photos. And now you might have to look for it because this will get pushed down over time. This says HDR assignment number 55. Click there and put your pictures in there. All right. So somebody was just asking there. Yeah, I do ask no more than 3. We ask for it to permanently be no more than 3. Would be very good. Would be helpful to all of us. And I know a lot of you guys are going to overextend yourself, and you're going to pound those pictures out, and that's great. I want you to learn. Looking back up through here, I'm really sorry. Like I said, Debbie said, what about the ones I already did? I don't know which ones you already did. I don't know what you're talking there. Kevin and I are in the same boat. You did a bunch of them. I mean, the only ones I found, Debbie, was what was in the folder, in that actual album. So, do I want before and after pictures? No, just HDR pictures. Just complete your HDR assignment, get that HDR shot that you really, really like, and put that in that folder. It was a good question, Deb. I appreciate that question. Somebody else in there said earlier, have a good day, June. I don't know if you're still listening or not, but somebody else said in there earlier about they seen their picture in the albums, but I didn't pull it out because it's not in that album. So the assignment number for this week is on there. It's number 55. Number 55. It says HDR. That's the assignment. That's what we learned today. And also, you want to get those pictures and upload them to that folder. Oh, and can you already use what you've already taken? That's really totally up to you. The idea of assignment, I took an online photography certification class a while back, and the instructor was really, really tough, where he would give us an assignment, we would do it, and when you submit it in the metadata, he'd pull it and be like, no, this was taken last September, man. He would send it back and say, you failed. So the idea of the assignments are to get out there and reshoot. Get out there and shoot and get a good understanding for it. I mean, it's up to you, though. If you want to use something old, you can. I'm not that picky. I don't look at the dates on them things. Please, please, please keep them in that folder. And, a lot of people are going to argue with me about this, but the reason is it was taking a long time. I would wake up at 5 in the morning, and I was going through posts until 7 in the morning looking for each individual picture. Because, as you put a picture up and I comment on it, and Kevin or Debbie comments on it, it moves it to the top. And if nobody comments on it, it moves it way down the bottom. But other posts are happening every day in Facebook. So what happens in the end? It was taking me 2 hours to try to download all these pictures. Charmaine, actually, our friend from Australia, said that, Jack, there's a better way to do it in groups that she's on. Create an album, and everybody gets to upload to that album. This morning, those pictures, now there wasn't many in there, but it took me literally 5 minutes. I popped them all off of there because I knew they were all in there. I pulled them and I was done. So there you have it. Okay, guys and girls, let me say once again, thank you so much for joining me this Sunday morning. As always, this show wouldn't be worth doing if I sat here and talked to myself, right? I could just sit here and call myself on a cell phone and be like, "Hi, Jack, how you doing?" You know. So these shows are because you're here. That's why we do these shows. I appreciate everybody's input on Facebook. We're up to, I just had it up there. Actually, I just had it on there. I believe just a little bit ago, we just added somebody, and we have another one to add now. So we're going to be up to 197 in our Facebook group. I would never have thought that to happen. Just like my YouTube videos, when we started doing those in 2008, I told my wife, I said, I'd be happy if I had, 10 subscribers. I would be honored. I'm teaching 10 people. We have over 6,600 and some people now subscribed to the YouTube videos. So I would have never guessed. It's great. It's great that everybody's in here. You people make the show. So that's wonderful. Okay, so with that said, get out there and shoot your HDR pictures, folks, and edit those any way you want. If you don't want to buy the software, don't buy the software. Use the trial version. If it has the watermarks, you still pass because you're learning how to use a tool. You got a tool in your tool belt, you pull that out, and you said, I'm going to use my HDR tool today. If you have Photoshop, try it in Photoshop CS5. You're going to be pretty doggone impressed. I know I was. It works great, and you already have it on your computer. So with all that said, I hope that everybody has a great work week. What the heck did he just say? Great work week. Well, I hope everybody can have a decent work week and at least get through it so we can all come back here and visit with each other again next Sunday. So until then, as always, folks, keep those shutters clicking, keep your editors editing, and I'll see you back here for another Jack's Tech Corner and Photography Weekly next Sunday. Bye for now. Take care.